The first generation Toyota 4Runner, The first generation Toyota 4Runner wasn't called a 4Runner. It was a modified Hilux pickup truck, and it was called the Hilux Surf. It was a two-door. How cool is that? And it had a fiberglass topper to it, so you could take that off and have a drop top, or no top, I guess you could say, back seat for passengers as well as your belongings. How cool was this truck, the Hilux Surf? For the first generation 4Runner, it had a turbo diesel option, it had a manual option, it had turbo gasoline engine option, the 22 RE engine. What has Toyota just done? Well, they've come out with this. Is this the 4Runner we deserve? The return of the Surf? Today we'll get into it. For this year's SEMA, Toyota has come out with a new concept. They come out with the two-door Hilux Surf Modern Edition. This is obviously the 4Runner. We have the waves up front. It's fully modified, of course, from the suspension to there being two doors instead of four doors, and the top being removable. It's a concept, and I don't want to burst your bubble, but I feel like this is a great conversation piece. Like, should have Toyota come out with this 4Runner sort of flexibility and heritage with this newest generation coming out soon? By the way, I will be driving the new 4Runner in January, so stay tuned for that. But should have Toyota, since we have the Land Cruiser, and the Land Cruiser is roughly the same size, and the Land Cruiser employs kind of the same, same capability of this vehicle, should have Toyota had the 4Runner be a removable top? That is a question I think most of us would answer yes to, because it would compete more directly with the Broncos and the Wranglers, and it would make it more unique and set it apart from the Land Cruiser within its own lineup as well. So I'm going to go ahead and, I'll play the B-roll for you guys while I read some of the details about this heart-wrenching concept. It's so cool. It's like the X-Runner for the Tacoma last year, but to me, this is more tantalizing than a street racer truck. Obviously, from this angle, before I get into the press release, this angle, it looks like it was photoshopped off, right? It's just not complete here. If we look at the original Hilux Surf, was it as evident as well that it was just kind of chopped off? Maybe. So I'm going to play the B-roll while I read you the details of this, and stay after, because we got some Toyota news. And overall Japanese auto market news. Like, the Japanese automakers keep shrinking, largely due to China. If you watched my video yesterday on Volkswagen, they're in a hot mess. Germany's in a hot mess right now, and there's no easy fix to the situation. Volkswagen saying, hey, employees, take 10% loss in pay. It's the only way we can keep you on without closing the plant you work at. Anyways, watch yesterday's video. Embracing 4Runner's Go Anywhere spirit, TRD Surf revives removable roof nostalgia as a tribute to SoCal's surfing legacy. Marty Schwerter, lead builder and director of operations at Toyota Motorsports Technical Center, said his vision was shaped by his own experiences cruising the Pacific Coast Highway and a Toyota Mini pickup. He saw the spirit of the first generation in the 25 4Runner and envisioned a concept that captures the essence of those sun-soaked days in the 80s. He goes on to say the 25 4Runner reminded him of the original with its rugged look and powerhouse four-cylinder engine. He said he knew it had the potential to be the ultimate beach cruiser. Unfortunately, it wasn't made that from the factory this time around. But he said they wanted to create something that would resonate today while paying homage to the past. The removable top was a must, just like the original, and some of you guys would probably say the same thing. We made sure it's as functional as it is stylish. They did not put the hybrid engine in here. I think it's because the original Hilux Surf had the 2.4 liter turbocharged engine. Obviously, nowhere close to the power numbers that we have today. I think that's why they kept it simple for that. And it was probably easy. Here's the thing. Without the battery pack in there, you can modify it a lot easier. instead of having to mess around with the rear seats and whatnot and the rear cargo area with a battery. So that's probably the number one reason I would say that they didn't include the hybrid on this concept. The only thing modified on the powertrain is a custom exhaust, giving a satisfying exhaust note. He went on to say, removable top, going from a 4-door to a 2-door while maintaining functional windows, flipping the front passenger seat for improved rear seat access, and adding 2 inches of width to both sides were all just tip of the iceberg issues, Schwerter said. What makes this build so stellar has less to do with the changes themselves and more to do with the amazing way that they all work together. The result is truly greater than the sum of its parts. For the suspension, we have a longer travel. We have billet aluminum front, upper, and lower A-arms designed to handle the toughest terrain while providing a smooth ride. We have steering upgrades, custom front axles, and Toyota Tundra rear-end housing complements the custom suspension. At each corner, the 37-inch tires mounted to 17 by 8.5-inch custom wheels complete the concept's muscular appearance. You guys can see the 4Runner TRD Surf Concept in the flesh if you head to SEMA this year, November 5th through 8th in Las Vegas in the Toyota booth. And I will see you guys in the comments about the return of the Hilux Surf, return of the removable top 4Runner. This is just... oh my gosh, it's so cool. And I think it's what so many Toyota fans would want to have as an option. I know many people would prefer to have the hardtop that isn't removable, right? It's a quieter, more solid experience. But if a 2-door 4Runner with a removable top was an option, I'm losing my mind at the thought of it. It would absolutely shake up the Bronco and Wrangler stranglehold on the market with their removable tops. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree. This is when the nostalgia play is too powerful here, and it just makes us happy that Toyota did this, but it's also like, no, this is something that you want and you'll never ever be able to have unless Toyota does the unthinkable and offers a removable top to there's just no way. It would probably, at that point, it would probably be a pickup truck, and it would have to be hit with the chicken tax, which increases the import tax an additional 25%. It's a heartbreak. It's Heartbreak Hotel. We need to keep moving before I just start crying, because I know we're not going to get anything like that. So Japanese automakers' global output falls for first time in 4 years. Toyota scandals isn't happening, or is it helping? We know the China slump, well, it's really dragging down Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz, all the German automakers. It's dragging down the United States automakers in China, and it's definitely no one can compete with the Chinese automakers and their fast changing, evolving cars with always increasing the battery electric range, always or changing the design, always improving the software. So the Chinese auto machine right now is just in a whole nother universe compared to legacy auto. It's insane. And so no one is able to compete with the shifting sands in China unless you are pretty much a Chinese automaker that doesn't have a whole lot or any sort of legacy baggage holding the company back from change and progress. So anyways, let's get into this. Global production volume at Japanese automakers dropped for the first time in 4 years during the 6 months through September, hampered by compliance scandals at Toyota. We know the Daihatsu issue, as well as tougher competition from the Chinese rivals. 8 manufacturers of passenger vehicles produced a combined, let's just round up to 12 million cars during the first fiscal half, down 6% on the year. Output was on par with April through September of 2022, when the automotive supply chains were disrupted by shortages in semiconductors and other components. Japanese automakers' global output may be peaking as they struggle to make up lost ground in electric vehicles. I would 100% agree. I think peak Japanese auto has already happened. I think peak domestic auto has happened, and I might as well talk about Stellantis at the end of this. So just peak legacy auto has happened. They will never be bigger, more than likely, than they were, let's say, in 2020, or let's say pre-pandemic, so 2019. Now, I think that could change if they had more affordable cars, if they're able to produce, let's say, 25% more cars than they are now with, I don't know, 30% less price. We could see a rise of legacy auto, but there just seems to be no sign of that. Car prices are just so high unless you're buying a Chinese car, which we can't do in the United States. Toyota Motor reported the biggest decline among the 8 automakers at 7%, producing 4.7 million vehicles. It's still the world's largest automaker, accounting for 40% of the global output among its Japanese peers. You also have to keep in mind, as they talk about here, just this week, production for the Grand Highlander and Lexus TX started back up slowly. I think it's a couple days a week now, and then it's going to ramp up 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week for the TX and Grand Highlander. That's a huge production volume, just completely absent for most of the first half of 2024. With the lack of the Grand Highlander and the Lexus TX on the stop sale due to the airbag issue that they had. Now, they also have fixes going out, but they're really supply chain, to my understanding, there's supply chain constraint on the airbags going out to the dealerships to be able to be fixed through the recall. And so, meanwhile, while Toyota's putting out fires and all of these automakers, not just Japanese, but all the automakers are trying to figure out how to survive in the fast changing market, especially with the world's largest auto market in China. Demand for gasoline power only cars is diminishing. They're losing competitiveness against the EVs, which Nikkei Asia always points out that they get generous government support. And you guys in yesterday's video were saying, hey, Kirk, every manufacturer gets support from their home government. I would say that's true. Okay. So maybe I should be a little bit more fair here by saying, hey, well, in Germany, well, everyone gets hit with an import tariff unless you make vehicles there. In the United States, there are import tariffs, not as high as Germany. But yes, like we know that even in the financial crisis, Chevy and Dodge, right, got bailed out. So there's always going to be some home brewing going on, some home court officiating going on to boost and prop up the local teams, I guess you could say. So Nikkei Asia does point this out, which means, yes, the Chinese automakers in China are going to get some help. But you got to keep in mind, the same is true for other companies in other countries. But I'm not saying it's the same sort of assistance or anything like that. It's just that, yeah, the rules are going to change country by country. Assistance will change country by country. And yeah, that's just not within the scope of this video. But I wanted to address that since you guys were pretty harsh on me yesterday. I'll just say that. Honda Motor posted the largest production decline in China, down 34% to just 385,000 vehicles. This is Honda's 4th consecutive year with a drop for the April through September half. Honda's production volume in China plummeted 60% from its peak year in 2020, when the company made nearly 1 million vehicles. Guys, Honda went from essentially 1 million to 400,000 vehicles in 4 years. That is unreal. September alone, volume sank 58%. And the image at the top here is actually a Honda. This is the Honda Ya series or the Ye series. And obviously that's just for the Chinese market. And they're pretty cool looking EVs. We'll, of course, never ever get them here. And so we'll get the Honda Zero series that will cost probably 2 to 3 times more than that Ya series. Nissan slid 9% in China to 312,000 vehicles. The company's Chinese output is down 62% from its peak in April through September 2020. So even beat out Honda for the amount of drop from the 2020 peak. Toyota volume decreased 17% to 735,000 vehicles, the lowest 6-month figure since 2019. They just can't compete with the prices. It seems like we know BYD has that cute little it's almost like a K car or like a Chevy. What was it? That tiny car? Was it a Chevy? The Chevy Sonic. It's kind of like a Chevy Sonic size hatchback. Was it the BYD? It's the BYD Seagull. So it almost looks like a tiny Chevy Bolt at the same time, but those can be had for around $10,000 to $15,000. And the Japanese, and frankly, anyone that's not a Chinese automaker, they can't compete. Tesla's doing okay in China for now, but again, they're not legacy auto. They don't have the baggage that holds them back from change and updates and staying relevant. Anyways, they also have a draw for their autonomous driving software and their vehicles. So yeah, I feel like Tesla's doing okay in China, but it's still bloodbath for profits. And BYD just posted profits, by the way. Net profit up 11.5% for BYD. They're doing more than okay. So plants are shutting down across the industry. We know Mitsubishi pulled out last year, about a year ago at this point. Honda's reducing annual capacity for gasoline engines by 500,000 from 1.49 million. Now, they never produced that many vehicles. Remember, 950,000 was the peak that they produced, but they have production capacity for 1.5 million. Now it looks like they're reducing production capacity to around 1 million, even though they are producing, where are they at? 385,000 vehicles the first half of the fiscal year. So if you double this, we're at about 760 or 770,000 vehicles. So they still have the production capacity to match their all-time high, Honda, even though they're closing an entire plant. Nissan in June shut down a plant in the Jiangsu province, and we know Toyota's been laying off people as well in China, reducing workforce to match the reduction in production. So the Japanese automakers, of course, are losing a stronghold in China, their traditional stronghold, which is Southeast Asia as well. Well, they're losing ground fast. Chinese exports to the region surpassed that of Japan's in 2023, approaching 5 million vehicles that year. And overseas production by Japanese automakers declined 6% on the year to about 8 million vehicles for the first half of the fiscal year. Mitsubishi struggling in Thailand and seeing a big fall, down 16%. The intense discounting competition has made the Japanese automakers more cautious about inventories, and they are curbing production, said the senior analyst at Tokai Tokyo Intelligence Laboratory. Chinese rivals are boosting competitiveness in low-end gasoline cars, along with their EVs and plug-in hybrids. So they're hitting every single major powertrain segment, undercutting the Japanese, making cars at a competitive level in terms of quality, from my understanding, in terms of desirability in some markets. And well, if the pricing is low, that's going to increase desirability. And so that's really helping the Chinese cars capitalize and conquest the markets. Volkswagen's considering shutting at least 3 plants in response to the moves by the Chinese players in Europe and in the Chinese market. So it's a hot mess throughout the world. Unless you're one of the succeeding Chinese automakers, it's just not looking good. Oh, I said I was going to finish with Stellantis. I mean, Toyota's major supplier, Denso's even cutting profit forecasts right now, but Stellantis revenue plunges on lower shipments in Europe and in the United States. They have slumped 27% in the third quarter as shipments are declining. They're also cutting production volume as well. So, well, the good news is that we have some, well, maybe I can get like a die-cast car of this. That's about the closest thing I'll ever seem to have of a new Toyota Hilux Surf / 4Runner Surf removable top and 2-door. So, you know, maybe Toyota can make some money making a concept car die cast out of this. That's about the closest we're going to get. So I'll see you guys in the comments. The auto industry, it's up in the air, especially for legacy auto. I'll catch you guys in the next one. It's fun to talk about, and I'll see you in the comments as always. Make sure you subscribe, because I'll be doing some Toyota stuff in December, and I'll be doing some Toyota stuff like driving the new 4Runner in January. So stay tuned for all of that. Honda stuff coming down the hatch as well. And I can't wait to share more than just that. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Thank you, guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.